Get all the tweets out. We are live.
It is funny how people make comments about it feeling kind of weird to them when I'm a guest on Daily Observations.
Yeah. It is weird. Well, I didn't do this. I hadn't been doing this before. Just use Stream Deck's editing and just tweet. Push a button. I did figure out the linking to Mastodon, so that's working.
Oh, awesome. So now why? There we go. I was trying to Command Tab, and apparently my keyboard wasn't doing it because I loaded up your show notes with tabs. I think I got them all out.
Right. Looks like somebody's in our notes, so Patrice must be coming.
Huh. Well, that's not reassuring. My iPad that's sitting here in this 12 South stand right next to my display, it just rebooted. This is running the most recent dev beta.
Oh, beta. Okay.
So I don't know if it's related to that or if, for all I know, it decided to not go to sleep and not charge. Oh, yeah, that's it. And it now has enough charge to be back up again.
There's Patrice.
We'll just kind of turn that off for now.
Patrice, how are you? How's it going?
Doing good. Doing good. Just busy. You have time off and then you think you have time and you don't.
Yeah, funny how that works.
Funny how that works for sure.
Yeah.
I was just telling Jeff in my Facebook feed, it came up that we did the show, this very show, the three of us, a year ago, 2021.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I completely forgot. Episode
yeah, I don't remember that.
Patrice, the awesome thing is all three of us did the show and none of us remember.
Didn't I remember it until I saw it through Facebook.
Oh, wow. Okay.
We've made it a tradition.
And I probably said something like, and this is the last podcast of the year that I'll be doing.
Right.
Sounds about right.
All right, let me turn this recording on.
I just finished cooking and shopping and all of that.
I just
ready
finished
for
making
tomorrow.
my tea. I'm actually disappointed.
Oh.
The brand that I usually buy for Earl Grey wasn't available. So I went with a different brand that costs more.
It's not better.
It's really disappointing. It's not like Earl Grey. It's more like Earl Off-White. It's like, if I set this in front of you and a cup of like English breakfast,
you couldn't tell the difference.
No, you probably couldn't tell the difference.
That's weird.
236. Ready to go?
I just bought some tea yesterday. Like fruit, apple, something.
I should put it out on Facebook too.
Patrice, whenever you come visit, we should go do a tour of Celestial Seasonings.
We should. No, we will. We will do that next year.
Awesome.
I mean, bar any, stuff
Right.
that comes up live. I'm actually planning a trip for like sometime next year. I don't know yet. Probably September.
Cool.
It's either July or September, but July in Phoenix is not fun, so I might do September.
No, it's not.
I might do like mid-September or something like that. We'll talk.
That
All
would
of
be
us.
a nice
Like
time to
David,
to-
I'm
Yeah,
gonna
yeah.
visit you too.
Absolutely.
It's gonna be the US tour.
Love it.
That's awesome.
All right. Just gonna get
You know what I should do? I should just start picking up people. Like I'll fly into Chicago, pick up Dave, and then we'll go join Jeff and pick up Jeff, and
There
then
you
I don't
go.
know, we'll go to Hawaii and pick up Doc and
Patrice's
Jerry.
Great American Road Tour.
yeah.
Yeah,
that'd be
exactly.
awesome.
And then like maybe go to Oregon, pick up Kenny, and just keep going.
I think this is fantastic.
I think so, yeah. Let's make a TV show out of that.
I think it would be an excellent TV show.
Yeah.
Just have to find someone who's willing to pay for it.
Well, one step at a time.
Yeah, that's
There's
true.
that.
There's that.
All right. Just trying to-
It would be fun though. I would love to do that.
That would be a lot of fun.
Okay, we're on the socials now.
Yay. Oh, there's another reason I can't do earlier. Just remember, I got my apartment in Vienna. I mean, I haven't signed the contract, the lease yet, but I'll do that probably next couple of weeks.
Yet
And I got
another
to go
reason
ahead.
to come visit you.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm ready to
Gonna
go.
be fun in May. I get it.
Nice.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Okay,
right now
when-
it's
when are we
just a
doing?
construction site. So
Oh, okay. That explains one of your photos.
yep, that was I like that was before I even put in anything. I was like, okay, I want to see where it is and so on. And I was like, okay. Well, they still got 5 months, so it should be fine.
Yeah.
There should be something more than a construction fence by the time you're ready. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
would
the
hope.
building is already there. I think they're doing like the insides right now, like putting. I've heard from the realtor, like they're putting in the kitchens and stuff. So can't be too far off. They've started putting in kitchens in some like first apartment. So gonna be fun.
Nice.
All right. I'm ready to go. Feeling like you guys are.
Yep. Do we have any? Was there anything in the document? I checked and I forgot about it.
Do you need the link?
Oh,
Should be
Patrice,
somewhere.
like we've ever let a lack of preparation get in the way.
Yeah.
No, got it. Thank you.
Okay. Someone there's an anonymous person in here too.
That is not me.
That it's probably me.
Okay.
It depends on probably what email address you sent me the invite to,
Mm.
and which address I'm logged in with right now.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I
Anonymous
see a D,
coyote.
I see a P, and I see anonymous. Okay, I'm anonymous.
No, you're in there too. I see Jay.
Oh,
Hmm.
I
Maybe it
see
was
myself
my
as
email.
anonymous.
Okay. It's fine.
Doesn't matter.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
Not
Anonymous.
not like we're. But this is some private thing here.
Super secret.
Yeah. Right. All the super secret stuff I have in here. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now ready to go. In 5, 4, 3, 2. Welcome to episode 237 of In Touch with iOS, the show that talks about iPhone, iPad, Apple Watch, Apple TV, and related technologies. I'm your host, Dave Ginsburg. And my guest this week for the last show of 2022, Patrice is here. How you doing, Patrice?
I'm doing good. I'm doing really good. I'm kind of feeling like I don't know how this works anymore. I haven't done a podcast in is it 2 weeks?
Wow.
Oh, it's been a long time for you, huh?
I think it's either a week or 2 weeks. I don't remember. Feels like 2 weeks, so probably is. No, I'm good. I'm getting ready, having friends over for New Year's Eve tomorrow, and
Good.
it's gonna be fun.
Great to hear. And Jeff Gammon's back. How you doing, Jeff?
I'm doing all right, and I'm a little rusty, but I kind of remember how all this works. It's yeah, because I've only recorded one other show this week, which
That's
was
right. I missed you on Tuesday.
Daily Observations with Ken Ray.
Yeah, check that out.
Nice.
And I mentioned this pre-show, but I'll also mention it to everybody else that I just realized that it's been a whole long year that the three of us did this exact same show 1 year ago, I guess, 2021. So 21, 21, 22, 2, yeah. So
Let's make this a tradition. Let's give it a cool name and make it a tradition.
Yeah, we got to come up with a name, and this is a tradition now because we've done this. I was back in episode 183, so it came up my Facebook feed. I completely forgot. So, but we got a lot to talk about. We're gonna do a bit of a year in review, some news stories, and all kinds of other fun stuff. Got a couple news stories here this week, so let's go ahead and dive into those. This first story is the iPhone 15 Ultra. Won't be exclusively assembled by Foxconn. Apple has enlisted Luxshare to assemble the iPhone 15 Pro Max alongside Foxconn next year, according to a Chinese research firm, TrendForce. It's unclear what percentage of the orders would be Luxshare that will fulfill, but the move will help reduce Apple's risks of relying on a single manufacturer following all the workplace issues and everything else going out there, especially the iPhone 14 Pro and Pro Max that they had a heck of a time having stock, and the stock market is not being very fair to Apple at this point. Its stock is way down. I think this is a good idea. I never understood why Apple would only do one manufacturer. I know it's hard to split it up, but I think reality is finally set in.
Yes.
What do you think, Patrice?
At the scale that Apple is operating at, it's very, very hard. I mean, we could take bets. How long until Apple decides that they're going to start manufacturing themselves again? Like, I mean, and they did it in the past. Like, it's not.
They've done a little bit of dabbling over the past few years.
Well, I mean, they used to do a lot of it themselves back in the day. So yeah, it's just a matter of when, I think, because I mean, I think Apple is realizing that, like, it's just way too risky to do everything. I mean, I think it's like 90-something% of all iPhones come out of whatever, I don't know how big like the area is, but like maybe a couple million square mile area in China. I don't know how big, but like something like
the Foxconn factory.
Yeah, exactly. Like a small city within a city, basically, or a big city within a even larger city. So, yeah, I mean, if anything happens there, and we've seen, like, I mean, there's like COVID, and there's like other major disasters, and earthquakes can happen, and I mean, like the world anyway is crazy, like wars, all of that. If any of that happens, Apple has a problem. And we're seeing that.
Yeah, for sure.
Yep. Supply chain and manufacturing has been historically a very brittle system. As long as everything's okay, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And
it worked well for decades, I would say. More or less. I mean, small issues here and there. I mean, I remember what was it? The flooding in Thailand, I think, where like, was it the SSDs or something couldn't, like hard drive something couldn't fit?
Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, those were small blips. Like, I mean, yeah, it had some influence, but it wasn't so bad that Apple couldn't produce anything. It might have been a little bit more expensive. It might have been a little bit harder, but Apple managed somehow, and all the others managed. But yeah, we've seen it's at least the last couple of years, it's been very rocky.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, this report to me is indication that Apple has decided that they have to change to have a more resilient supply and manufacturing chain.
Yeah. And then, I mean, the question is how much of that is also political pressure?
Okay. Yep. There's that too.
Yep. No, I agree. I agree. Next story here. Let's move on. The iPhone 14 Pro, its dynamic island requires a special manufacturing process from Samsung. I did not realize this. The iPhone 14 series delivers the most significant screen redesign since the iPhone 10, and iPhone 14 Pro and Pro Max have that pill-shaped cutout, the top next to the hole punch cutout. Apple merged the two by keeping an OLED pixels between the two holes turned off, and that's how the dynamic island came to life. But manufacturing a display with two holes that needs to be drilled at the top isn't easy, and Apple had Samsung develop a particular technology to manufacture the screens without damaging them. It's interesting to see. I hadn't realized that it was a completely different manufacturing process than other than they, just like we were just talking about with the production of the iPhone. Why wouldn't this be just a simple process in itself? But I guess not, because it's quite advanced technology, right, Patrice?
I mean, it's not. I mean, you can't just go to Home Depot, get a drill, and just drill a hole in your display. It's not
Well,
how
no.
it
You
works.
can.
Well, it's not going to
You
work.
shouldn't.
No, I mean, I think it was pretty clear that that is not an easy thing, especially when it comes to like how Apple wants things to work. I mean, they want basically every pixel they can to work as a normal pixel. And I mean, for sure, you could just punch a hole in it and say, well, there's a bunch of that pixels and who cares? But that's not Apple. So yeah, I mean, that's probably why it took so long for Apple to do it, because they wanted to do it their way.
Right.
Mm-hmm. You know, I assumed that for what we have on the iPhone right now, that it wasn't a difficult thing, not because I was thinking, just take a hole puncher or drill and punch a hole through, but because we've had Android phones on the market for a few years that are essentially doing the same thing, where, there's a hole through the screen for the cameras. And I figured since that was a process that these companies had been using for a while already, that it was a process that wasn't going to take a lot of reworking. Well, turns out that's not the case.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I was just looking at it. Just look at how tiny that hole even is, and
It
how like there's no margins whatsoever. So it's not one of those big hole punches that we've seen on Samsung phone.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
that I said that's probably easier and cheaper to do that. But it's not Apple.
No,
funny,
that's not Apple.
There are some apps I would watch a video on like Xfinity for like watch a show, and then I would go landscape, or you would actually see the bar. Yeah, the bar is actually, you actually see the bar. So I think Xfinity needs to do a better job with their
With everything.
app design there, but they'll get there. But yeah, I think it's interesting to see where that is. So last story here this week, and actually this has been an ongoing story, is Apple adds iOS 16.2's home app upgrade to its internal list of major issues. Apple has marked iOS 16.2's home architecture as a major issue by adding it to an internal list of issues typically only reserved for widespread and noteworthy problems, indicating that the update has caused widespread and systematic issues to users' HomeKit devices and setup, you think?
Really?
As we know, earlier this month, they included an option for users to update their phones to a new quote unquote stable architecture, and of course, it turned out that it really broke the home app completely, and there was a workaround with a support article and all that stuff. So yeah, this is from Mac Rumors. They did learn that Apple has added this update to a database of both hardware and software issues internally. So they got some work to do. And Jeff, you being the HomeKit guy, I should say, or the guru, whatever I want to call it, but what you got some thoughts on here? I hope to God it didn't mess up your home app.
Oh, bless your heart.
Yeah.
No, okay, so the big problem a lot of people have complained about is not being able to log in,
Right.
and that is not a problem for me. The problem that I've had since in doing the HomeKit update is that my place has become basically a roulette game of what's actually going to happen and trigger and turn on or off when. And I mean, like, seriously, I'll tap a button in HomeKit to turn on the lights in my office, just like, like regular white. Nothing will happen in the office, but the rest of the lights in the house will all turn on, and it'll be a random color like green. And so it's just completely random stuff like that that's happening. Or I'll say, I'm actually having more trouble with Siri commands with HomeKit now too, where I'll say something like, "Hey, S lady, turn on the office lights."
Yeah.
And literally every light in my place shuts off.
Yeah.
Well, I have the opposite. I tell her to turn off the office lights, and I mean she does turn off the office lights and everything else in the office.
Oh, yep. I have that too. Turn off the living room lights, and literally every device in the living room shuts off. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
It's
Apple
bad.
had to transition because of Matter support, so I get it.
Right.
And I mean, it's not as if it was stable and good before. I mean, it's been a mess for a long time, to be honest.
Yeah, but now it's a hot mess.
It's a hot mess. Yeah,
Very much
it
so.
is. Yeah, it's getting better. I don't know. I'm on the beta, and it seems to be more stable, at least to me.
And I am not on the beta.
Yeah.
So
it's still, I mean, I'm not going to say it's easy because I want to say 10 years ago, I wrote an app for a smart home system. It was a third-party app with an undocumented API and all of that. So it was a lot of fun. And it was incredibly hard because, I mean, you have to deal with devices not being reachable and whatever, like the network issues and all of that. But it's Apple. They should be, I mean, if anybody can figure it out, if anybody has the talent in the world to do it, it should be them.
one would think.
Yeah, one would think, yeah.
You would think.
And there's other companies who are doing a much better job, to be honest.
Agree. Yeah. Unfortunately, there's some of the devices you can't use it with home app. You have to use it with theirs. So,
yeah, I don't buy those.
Yeah, exactly.
If it doesn't have Matter or HomeKit or Thread or something like that, I'm not trying it.
Yeah, I live and learn. I have the Google Nest doorbell. I'm kind of stuck. So, but
you're not stuck. Do you have a screwdriver?
Yeah, just pry it
Get
off
the
and
thing off the front of your house right now.
replace it.
Sell it to someone who wants to have it, wants to buy it, and buy a new one.
Yeah. No. Maybe next year. All right, let's go ahead and move on to the topics this week. Beta this week, iOS 16.3 beta 1 is still continuing as we record this week. Haven't seen anything else. Patrice, with you being on beta everything, I'd like to hear how your experience has been so far with some of the changes they made. There wasn't a lot of drastic changes between 16.3 and 16.2.
I don't honestly, other than some stability thing, I don't even remember any changes, to be honest.
There really wasn't, no.
It's like, I mean, they put out a new beta. There's no, like, there's nothing in there you say, okay, they had to do a new beta. I'm suspecting that we will get something down the line. I mean, this is probably the release for February, March timeframe.
Yeah, so they're gonna hold off for a while.
Yeah, I'm guessing at least. And I mean, there might be an event there, and they might add something to it later. I mean, it's this has been Apple's thing for the last couple of years. Like, basically release the new version, put out a new beta right away. Yeah, whether they need it or not. Like, whether there's any, as we see, whether there's anything, at least publicly anything in there. I mean, I should say publicly because, I mean, they might internally have changes that we don't see. Like, whatever, maybe we get actually some changes to the HomePods, for example. which haven't had any changes really in the last
We can live in
forever. Yeah,
Mhm.
it's possible. I mean that they remove, like they put out a version or put like a beta version, but internally in their build process they remove code. And sometimes stuff leaks because someone forgot to guard it properly. But usually they're pretty good.
Yeah. And Jeff, you just said your iPad just booted as we started the show. So
Yeah. In 16.2, my iPad started charging from a lower power USB port.
Mm.
Even when the screen was on. And I thought, oh, that's kind of interesting. And with the 16.3 beta, that seems to either be intermittent or just not working at all. I haven't been able to figure it out yet. But like right before the show started, I noticed the Apple logo suddenly popped up on that iPad screen. And so at some point, it just drained overnight. And had enough charge coincidentally right before the show to turn on. It was only 4% charge, but hey, it's enough for it to boot back up.
When it's turned off, it probably was enough power to charge it to a point where it could boot up again, and then it's going to drain again. So
that's my assumption. Yep.
Probably not the best idea to do that all the time.
Well, it's an iPad that has a battery that's already shot.
Oh, okay. Then it doesn't matter.
So, but it's not shot enough that Apple will replace the battery.
Maybe that will do it. Just keep it charging for 4% and then go back down.
Oh, yeah. Give me a couple hours. It'll be ready for Apple to pop a new battery.
Yeah. Yeah, I've been running it on my 10R that I use as a camera, and I haven't noticed anything. And I have an iPad Pro 12.9. iPad seems pretty solid. So really haven't noticed much of a way here. So
one tip I can give people, and it's a little bit of a follow up because I mentioned that on BTN. I think when you have a older Apple TV in your house and you have Thread devices and all your Thread devices are kind of sluggish, go into the settings of your Apple TV and turn off the, what is it called? It's under Home and Cloud or something. I don't remember the exact menu, but it's basically turn off the feature that the Apple TV is your home hub. If you have other devices in house, like a HomePod Mini or something, because that was for me causing a lot of lag because the Apple TV doesn't have Thread support. The old one doesn't. The new one actually does. But it was, for some reason, I think because it was closest to my router, it was being used as a home hub. So it would always go to the Apple TV, realize, oh, it can't do Thread, and then go somewhere to another device and then turn on or off the devices. So just turn that off. I mean, if you have a HomePod Mini or a newer Apple TV in the house, you don't need the old Apple TV anyway.
So
like I had
newer Apple TV, do you mean like a 4K?
The brand new 4K, and I think only the Ethernet version has Thread. Right?
Okay.
The most expensive, I still don't get it, but the most expensive one. So I said any older than that one, just turn it off. I mean, if you have another device in the house who does Thread and can do the home hub functionality, just disable it. It's not needed. It was causing a lot of issues, and I just when you unplug it, it started working. I'm like, huh, it's interesting. Then I realized that you can just turn off that feature, and then it's fine.
Yeah, I just tried it. It's you just go under the in the settings under AirPlay and HomeKit, and there's
AirPlay and HomeKit, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And you can go down and just select Home Hub. I just went on my TV screen here and turned it on, yeah, you can just toggle between connected and off. So
yeah, just turn it off. As I said, if you don't need it, just turn it off. It's not going to help you. And it was causing really some issues in the network.
Yeah, I've kind of been into the Apple TV world for the last 2 weeks because I ended up getting a brand new one with Ethernet, the 2022 model, and I have a 2021 model that I bought. That was a deal because it was like $99, and then start rotating around the whole home, because then I have the 2017 4K. Then I have the HD, which I moved over to our lake home, because they don't need to have the high technology like I do, right? So
Right.
and then then fumbling around with remotes, and so yeah, I've been kind of in the Apple TV world the last couple of weeks. So
I think I'm going to get one just for Apple TV thing.
it was cheap, because they were selling it at Sam's Club locally here in the United States. It was $139, so they took like $10 off of the
Not bad.
the 128 with Ethernet.
Okay, nice.
Yeah. So then I think the one that was not Ethernet was like 129, I believe they were selling for. So I just started setting them up, because we're going to do some signage stuff at work, and so I see what the difference is. I mean, the new Apple TV is really lightweight. I mean, I compared it to the 2021 model. They really took some weight off of it, and I should have added it to my review
by removing the fan, right? I think that was the thing that they changed. I didn't even know it had a fan. That was the funny thing.
Yeah, I probably should have mentioned that last week when I did my review. But yeah, it's interesting to not see an Ethernet connection on it. And I mean, I don't use it. I really should, because it is nearby to this. So, but it's definitely gonna be interesting here. So, I'll talk about. There's another new device I'm getting here, and I think it's arriving today. But I'll mention it in a bit here. But so let's talk about the year in review. So Apple did have only 3 events, plus they had a press release in 2022. So that was a little unusual. They usually had 4 events. We did see a lot of new things this past year, and I was happy with some things and kind of disappointed with others. So we'll kind of go through each event briefly, and then see what stood out here. Back in March on the 6th, they had an event called Peak PEEK Performance that announced the iPhone SE, the 3rd generation, and the that was with the Apple i15 Bionic chip and the ceramic shield, and that had a base price of $429. They had also came out, that was huge release, was the iPad Air 5th Gen with the Apple M1 chip, and of course they introduced Center Stage. I mean, it's been interesting to see what everybody's been talking about with the iPhone SE. Some people love it. Some people are like, oh God. I mean, I grabbed one to try it, and I was like, why did I buy this? I'm returning it back, because I'm so used to having the high-end 14 Pro and Pro Max. So, but there are people out there who just want an inexpensive iPhone, and I think that's been the kind of the driver of it all, as far as why it continues to be popular. So,
or people who don't have a choice. I got one. I'm actually right now using it because it's my camera. I got one from work. Okay. They were like, "Oh, like you don't need an iPhone 12, like, or 13. Like, just here's an SE." And I'm like, "Okay, whatever. It's my camera. I don't care. As long as the camera is decent, I don't care." Never.
That's like the 2nd gen, right?
Not the new one, the 3rd gen.
Oh, it's 3rd. Okay.
Yeah, I got it right after, because I waited and I was like, okay, I had the 2nd gen SE before, or was it it was a 7, and I knew that this year it wouldn't get any updates anymore. So I was like, okay, hey guys, I need a new work phone.
Yeah.
Because security and stuff. And they were like, oh yeah, here's an SE. I'm like, okay. And it was a new SE.
No,
so
it's a perfectly good iPhone. I mean, it does have a small screen.
I never use it. It's my camera. So
yeah,
I never use it. So
yeah, and I do know people that are buying the new SE for their aging parents.
Yes, I think it just put the accessibility and zoom everything up to giant.
Right,
but then for that, a bigger phone would be better. Like
I agree.
Like
but if you're buying it for someone, excuse me, where they want to have some of the smartphone features, but you're not in a position where you can spend a lot of money,
right?
It's a great option. And well, like in some cases, they're buying the SE so that there's a companion phone to go with the brand new Apple Watch. They're buying them, right? And it's more about the Apple Watch.
Right,
or it's a kid's phone, like for your whatever, 8, 9, 10 year old.
That's a great example of young teenage kids, and then
Mm.
the parents want to buy them a iPhone. I mean, a lot of them dabble in the used market, but why do that when you can get a new SE? It's a perfectly good phone. I see these kids; they have no problems. The young kids,
They have small thumbs
kids these
anyway.
days or have no problems doing the
Perfect
TikTok
eyesight usually,
Yeah.
and small thumbs, like totally fine.
So, I mean, even my mother-in-law had an iPhone 8 Plus, and we gave her an iPhone 11 Pro, 11 Pro probably, and the screen is not that much different in size if you compare the 8 Plus, because that was with the frame and everything. So, but it's the same thing in that case. So, but the iPad Air, I think, was a huge leap in the midline market. I think Apple did it, knocked it out of the park with that model, and that's the one I would always recommend to everybody who's looking for a good iPad and doesn't want to spend the $800 to $1,000 for a Pro.
Yeah.
They can jump right into this iPad Air for under it's like $600, I think it is, and sometimes lower.
I thought I got one of the Airs, but I don't remember. I don't even remember that it has center stage.
Yeah, they had.
I never needed it.
I don't use it. One of our friends on the Mac Voices Live, Eric, he uses his iPad every week when we're on the show, and it's always kind of weird to see he's moving and the camera's moving along with him. I mean, it is kind of cool that it does that. And the iPad, that's got a great camera too. So, so good stuff on that event. So we're kind of happy with what was announced. And then WWDC happened in June. As always, they come out with the new OSs, which was iOS 16, iPad OS 16, tvOS, watchOS, and Mac OS Ventura was announced. And
but Dave, before we go into WWDC, there is one other big announcement that was in the March event, and that was the Studio Display and the Mac Studio.
That's true. Okay.
Yeah, that was probably a big one, probably one of the biggest ones this year. I mean, the Studio Display depends on what you're using it for. Some people love it. Some people say, okay, the camera is crap. But yeah, that was a big thing. That was, I think, the whole thing why they even did that event. Like, I mean, yeah, the iPad Air is fine, the SE is fine.
Yeah.
But I mean, the performance part was the Mac Studio.
Oh no question. And that was they were selling it pretty well. I mean, I think stock was very minimal, and that display is phenomenal. It's just a little out of my league as far as price goes, but I've seen it in person, and it is really cool, and it's got a really amazing camera. And I'm comparing it to like Dell's. They got. I set up a Dell 34-inch on a desk, and it's got the built-in camera, but it pops up. You click, and oh, the
it's like one of those phones with the camera that pops out.
Yeah, it's awful. The camera is just awful. But
the Studio Display camera isn't that much better.
No, it's not. Yeah, so it's just.
I don't know anyone that, and now granted, we have a self-selecting group of people that are into these devices. That said, I don't know anyone that likes the cameras on these displays, but I know people that love the displays. And actually everyone I know that has one of the displays flat out loves it, except for the camera. And I even know people that have gone from like a 34-inch wide display to one of the studio displays because they love the quality so much they're okay not having that extra wide screen.
Yeah,
it's a beautiful display.
Oh, absolutely.
It is probably within the price bracket and the size, the best display you can buy. I don't think there is any, I mean, you can spend more and get a better display. Sure. Like get what was it called? The other one from Apple. I always forget the name. It's Pro Display XDR, something like that.
Oh yeah, the Pro Display. That one's
I mean, get that one, and there's probably a bunch.
$5,000. Excuse me.
Yeah, and there's probably others
substantially cheaper than comparable displays.
Yeah, and there's probably others that you can get that are the same or more. But within that price bracket, I don't think there is anything else. I mean, there's the LG, what was it called? Ultra Fine? Is that the one?
That's the one that Apple used to sell in their stores,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, exactly. And it's about, I mean, it's similar-ish, I would say. It's sure not from Apple, but it's about the same price and about the same specs, roughly. So, but as I said, I think this is the best you can get if you're willing, if you're in the market for something in that price range and in that quality range.
Absolutely. So let's go ahead and move into WW. We were talking about WWDC just briefly. We get to hit CarPlay had some updates. We'll talk about CarPlay and the future stuff. HomeKit had some updates. We already spent a lot of time on HomeKit as it is anyway, so you know where that's at. And they added some more parental controls. So
and 2 hardware announcements.
What? Right, they're Macs, right?
Yeah. There was the 13-inch MacBook Air and the new M2 13-inch MacBook Pro.
Right.
Which is also unusual for WWDC. I mean, not completely, but it's not. It doesn't happen.
It's not the norm.
No, that was kind of strange that they announced those. But overall, yeah, the 2 events were good, nothing earth shattering. But then the 3rd event came on September 7th, which we always looked over to because of the iPhone. We know that the iPhone's exactly. So the 3rd event was on September 7th, and it was entitled Far Out. And with what they did was they introduced the Watch Series 8, which I know Jeff purchased one this year, and the 2nd generation Apple Watch SE and the Apple Watch Ultra, which was the big announcement that came out. But we also included the AirPods Pro 2nd Gen, which I'm sporting. I'm really loving them. Other than when they cut out sometimes at Zoom, which I'm still trying to figure out. And then we have the iPhone 14 series, 14, 14 Plus, 14 Pro, and 14 Pro Max. I'll have the H2 processor in the AirPods Pro and the A16 only in the iPhone 14 Pro Max. I think you and I both, Patrice, got the 14 Pro Max. We love it. I mean, so it's been a few months since we've had it. I'm super happy with it. It's been working really well for me.
I'm super happy with it too. I mean, I can't use the let's say highlight feature that is emergency SOS because it's not in Austria yet. I mean, They actually rolled it out recently to parts of Europe. So if you're traveling to Europe from the US now, you can also get emergency services here, but not in Austria yet. But other than the colors, which I'm still sorry about, I'm sorry, Apple. All the colors are gray. I can barely
purple,
see
right?
it's purple.
We
I
both
have Beep Purple, which should be, it was the only fun color they supposedly had, and all of the colors are gray. Like on the Pro phones, I should say. The normal phones, I think they had more fun colors. So a little bit at least.
I don't know why they do it that way. Sure, I can get someone saying, well, these are Pro phones, therefore we need to have more subdued colors. At the same time, how many people are using Pro devices in Pro situations where they would prefer to have something brighter or more fun or with a deeper, richer color?
Do the gray and whatever, the silver and the space gray or whatever, and then do the rest of the line with fun colors. You can have 2, let's say, boring or more corporate or whatever you want to call it, colors, and then do fun colors for the rest of the line. It's not as if you're not releasing, 5 colors anyway.
Right. Yeah. Just because you have a bright pink phone doesn't make
I would love that.
See, but yeah, that wouldn't make the space gray or silver phone less professional looking.
It wouldn't make the pink phone less professional looking, to be honest, but it's my personal opinion.
Yeah.
For that reason, people put cases on their phones because they're like, okay, I don't like gray. I want pink or orange or green or whatever your color is.
Right.
And I don't like that. Apple's phones are beautiful as they are, but the colors, I know for a lot of people that's the least important thing about a phone, but for me it is kind of important. I look at it all day and I'm like, I wish it was more purple or more pink or whatever. Like just
Mhm.
more.
Yeah.
Other than that, it's a cool phone. Like I'm very happy with it.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Let me go off a little sidetrack here. I missed the chat that's going on here on youtube.com/intouchwithios. We got Ben in the chat here giving up some
Nice.
great stuff, and I missed. I think he asked you, Patrice, if the SE has MagSafe. I think
It does not. No.
It does not. There you go.
No.
So it does not have the.
It
Does
is
not have.
It is the old design, like home button, everything. Like it has the old single lens camera. It's literally the old design. They just put new internals in. That's it.
Yeah. So, and Mike Potter's in the chat here. How you doing, Mike? He agrees with you, Patrice. The Little Mac Studio was a huge announcement this year.
Mhm.
And then
Mhm.
a couple other things here. It's still definitely going to be a good year next year. A couple other comments here, and Ben says it'll be SOS will be in Austria in 2027. So-
No, it's probably next year. I mean,
Yeah,
if it's like once it's in Germany, once it's in Germany, it's like Austria's not that far. So
yeah. So, but want to get that caught up in the chat comments. Thanks for that, everybody, for those comments.
thank you.
And yeah, and so I think we're in the Apple Watch. I think we got some good things. How much we talked about. Listen back to previous episodes. I know, Jeff, you're happy with the watch series that you went from the Series 5, right? Or Series
I
4?
went from the Series 4
Right.
to the 8.
Yeah, so that was a big
Yeah.
jump.
That was a big jump. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
I'm
tried
very
on
happy
the-
with it.
Okay.
Here's the interesting thing, though. If you told me I was wearing a Series 4, I would believe you.
Yeah.
Because everything works just as well and reliably on the 4
Yeah.
as on the 8.
Yep.
Mm,
And I stayed with
Yeah.
the 7, so I'm.
I mean,
and I'm
there
not
are
saying that
definitely
it.
a lot of features you got.
I mean, there are new features, so I'd have
Mhm.
to go looking and
Yeah.
see the things on the watch that weren't on the 4. So I'm not saying that as a slam to the 8. It's actually a compliment to the build quality and functionality of the devices Apple makes. You
Mhm.
know,
Yeah.
it's they look the same and they're both incredibly reliable. I just have to go looking to find what features are different.
Yeah.
I mean, to be fair, I don't think Apple has upgraded the chip in the Apple Watch in, I want to say 2 years.
No,
I think
no,
it's still the
right.
same S something chip that it was
Is it
in the
S8, I think,
6.
or-
Yeah.
Which for me is still an upgrade since I came from the 4.
Yeah, I upgraded from the 6 to the 8, and I'm definitely noticing it is a little bit better in every way. For me, mostly it was about the health features, so
Oh yeah,
that made sense.
I'm with you.
Yep, I agree. So I did try on the Apple Watch Ultra at the Apple Store. It's an absolutely beautiful watch, but yeah, it's pretty hard to justify $800
It's a
for a
big
watch. But for me, being a big guy, I think I would look great with it. It looked really nice on my wrist. I took a picture of it, of course.
Having seen a bunch of women wearing it, I don't think it is as big as people made it out to be. It is sure bigger. Yeah, I just seen it is sure bigger. Like, I mean, no doubt about that. But it's not that much bigger that you couldn't wear it. I think it's just a matter of. So I think that alleviated some of the it's too big thing for me. But I still don't need it. Like that's the big thing. Like I just like if I needed it, I would gladly spend the $800. It's not that much more, but it doesn't have any features that I personally. It doesn't make it a bad watch. It just makes it a watch that I don't need.
Exact same with me. I mean, I'm not going to be doing any diving anytime soon. And,
No.
Yeah.
No,
so,
I'm not climbing. I mean, I'm climbing up mountains, but not that that way. It's like a small hike. I'm not diving. I'm not doing any of the things. So
for me, it is too big, but I could justify wearing a watch that's too big when I'm doing stuff in the backcountry.
Mhm.
The problem that I have with the Ultra is that it's still a day hike watch.
Mhm.
And at that point, if I'm going to take an Apple Watch into the backcountry and expect to use it for more than just a day hike, that means I need to take something to charge it. So the extra weight is going to come in a charger, but ultimately it means when I go in the backcountry and it's more than just like a afternoon or day hike thing, my Apple Watch isn't going with me because it's worthless at that point.
And if you're doing a day hike, to be honest, the normal Apple Watch is doing like gangbusters.
Exactly.
I've
It
done
does
that,
everything
like
that I need.
6-8 hour trips, hikes, whatever, not a problem. I had a charger with me, but I didn't even need it.
Yeah, for real world use, for me, the Ultra isn't going to give me anything more than my 41 millimeter Series 8.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I got the 45, and I mean the crazy thing for me is I use it all day. Like I do sleep tracking. I only charge it in the morning. There's two things that are really important for me for that: the fast charging, which is awesome, like whatever, half an hour, and the battery life in the morning. Like after basically a full day, it still has 35 to 40%. And I've used it for like running around and exercising and all of it all day. Like it's not that I'm sitting at home doing nothing. So
yeah.
All right. And let's briefly just talk about the press events. We had the 6th generation iPad Pro with an M2 chip, 10th generation iPad with the A14 Bionic chip, the Magic Keyboard Folio for the iPad, and the 3rd generation Apple TV, which we already talked about. Those all came out. iPad to 10th gen, a lot of bitterness of the fact it still has Lightning. And it is slower than a lot of the other older gen iPads, and more money. So I've taken a look at that iPad, and yeah, I saw them bringing down the prices, for their Christmas holidays and Black Friday and such. But yeah, they did jump the price up that pretty well, because you could buy the 9th gen was like the lowest price at $299 or $259. But it's also older gen, slower processor, quite a bit slower than this gen.
But it comes in fun colors.
But it does come in fun colors.
Yeah, there you go.
See, that's what I don't get. Like it does actually come in fun colors, like pink and yellow and so on.
Yeah.
So Apple can do it. Yeah.
It's almost like there's two different people in charge of it. There's the guy who does, or the girl who does fun colors, and there's the guy or girl who does like the non-fun colors. And depending who gets which device that time, you get like a fun colored one or not.
Which shift it comes through. Yeah,
exactly.
Oh, I need to correct myself. Thanks for Ben in the chat. The 10th gen does have a USB-C. I'm sorry. So that was the big thing that they did change, which was good.
Yeah, and they changed the design. I mean, the 10th gen actually, it wasn't a radical redesign, but it was a change. It was actually a bigger change than the iPad Pro, which, the iPad Pro didn't change at all, basically.
Yeah, and moving the camera to landscape mode as opposed to portrait mode.
Now, see, that's huge right there.
Yeah.
And it shows how Apple can engineer themselves into corners, because everyone's like, why didn't they do this on the new iPad Pro? Well, they can't, because they have to have that same space for the charging magnet system for the Apple Pencil.
Oh, and that also explains why the iPad Air. See, I do remember. I thought that my iPad didn't have center stage, and it doesn't, because it has the second gen Apple Pencil with the charger on top. So the iPad Air can't have center stage.
You mean the iPad 10th gen?
No, the iPad Air. We talked earlier about the iPad Air and center stage.
Oh, right.
And I thought I don't have it, and I think it doesn't, because it has the Apple Pencil on top, and then it can't do that.
the second gen, right? Whereas
Yeah, exactly. Then it can't have center stage because the camera would be off to the side.
yeah,
Would have to
absolutely.
check that.
Yeah. Okay, and then again, we talked about Apple TV, so we can move on from there. Briefly, I'd like to talk a little bit about in memorandum some of the products that were were retired in 2022. The Apple Watch Series 3, c'est la vie. You can't upgrade it anymore. And I know, Mike, you were in the chat there. You're still sporting that Series 3. That's great. I hope it still works for you. And for you say it meets what you need. That's great. But yeah, it can't be upgraded, and you always have to erase it and reinstall every time because there's no space on that. Yeah. Every time there was an upgrade, well, you're end of the road now with the upgrade. So, but hey, if it still works, it works for you, then that's great. I mean, I think that's awesome. And there were the iPhone 11, which was not surprising because it got the 12 and the 13. Talked about the Apple TV HD. It was introduced in 2015, so it had a good life. So there was no sense in that staying in. The saddest of them all, I think, is the iPod Touch, in my opinion, because I wish they would have been updating that. But I understand that iPods are a thing of the past now. You can do everything on your iPhone. You can do it on any other device. But what's the point of having an iPod Touch? But it was nice to have people who didn't want an iPhone.
I mean, no surprise, right?
No surprise. No, I'm not surprised at all. Yeah.
I'm not surprised, but still, I still see a valid use case for the iPod Touch. It's if you want something that's smaller than a tablet but still is like a tablet, it's a pocket-sized tablet, and it's great for kids. Yeah. If you want them to have access to the software, without the phone part, and my iPod Touch is now sitting in my old devices box. Yeah. And I still used that thing up until fairly recently, but it's out of date enough now that it just doesn't make sense. But I would have loved to have seen an iPod Touch with a little bit bigger screen and USB-C, and just it would have been great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw the iPod Touch a lot as point of sale systems. Like if they weren't using iPad minis, like which is the other option, a little bit bigger, but especially in restaurants, they would use it. They can type in whatever the order is and send it out. And in the chat, someone is saying iPhone SE minus the SIM is an iPod Touch. Well, yes and no. I mean, the thing is, I don't think you can activate a phone without a SIM. So I think I might be wrong about that.
No, you can use the iPhone without a SIM.
Yeah, sure. Once it's activated.
What?
I think the initial. I mean, it used to be. Maybe I'm again wrong because I was also wrong about center stage, by the way. But maybe it used to be that you needed a SIM to activate the phone. Like after that, once it was activated, you didn't need the SIM. Like you can just remove it. Maybe that changed with the Apple SIM or with the eSIMs. Maybe I'm wrong.
Question. But yeah. Also, if you use an iPhone SE without a SIM, you're paying more theoretically than you would for an iPod Touch, because you're paying for a device that has all of the cellular elements in it as well.
Okay, you can activate, it's not a problem. Okay, so that changed. That's good. Yeah, then there's probably even less of a reason for the SE to for the Touch. iPod Touch to be around. There's also not very much of a reason for the SE to be around, but that's a separate story.
Yeah. Well, thanks for all the input in the chat from Mike and Ben. We appreciate that. So let's go to 2023. What do we see as far as what can we predict what's going to happen next year? We have some pretty good ideas. I was going to start off. I mean, Well, we know for sure that Apple's going to launch some sort of all new CarPlay experience in 2023. But you're going to have a new car to do it. So I just hope that they don't focus all on that. And then all of us who keep our cars, average age of a car is, I think, 12 years old in the United States. So,
and it's growing.
And it's growing because people just don't want to have the
increasing
expense of a whole new car. Yeah. So this is all cool and stuff. I'd love to have it. I wish they could retrofit it, but you can't because don't have the cars do not have the equipment to do it. But this is definitely going to be something in the future.
How long it's going to take for a company to make a replacement dashboard for cars that has all the stuff in it.
That'd be,
it would be ridiculously expensive.
Right.
But there are people that would be like, yep, I'm throwing down money on that today. And then you take your car in and
there's so many,
your shop
so many nightmares.
Replaces the whole dashboard, and
I won't even change my head unit because it controls all the other stuff like the heat and all the other controls, and it's pretty well integrated with the car. So I thought of it in my old car, but because it didn't have CarPlay, but at least this one does, so I'm good. But yeah, that's going to be some serious money. I doubt that's going to happen. But as you're seeing, I read an article here that it's going to be all high-end cars to start off with anyway.
But where there's a market, there is someone who will do it.
Yeah, someone will do it.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Actually, what would be interesting is to see it happen in 2023. Because Apple making this available in 2023 really means that it's 2024 before we see cars that are shipping with it.
Correct.
So someone could, in theory, retrofit an older car in 2023 to have the new CarPlay before new cars have it.
Yeah.
Well, it depends on when Apple even activates it.
True.
Oh, yep. Good point. Good point. Thanks for taking the wind out of that sail.
It would have been cool, but no.
Yeah, I think you're right.
So we'll see what happens. Other thing is the HomePod. What's going to happen next year? There's been a rumor since the original HomePod was discontinued in 2021 that they may bring it back. I just know Mark Gurman had said something back in 2020 that they are working on something. And then you had Ming Chi Ko that was also saying that there's going to be a new design in a new HomePod. Could have a display. So there's a lot of rumor when it comes to the HomePod, the full HomePod, as well as updated HomePod minis, which that's possible. I could see that happening. More colors, maybe some updates, and then an Apple TV HomePod hybrid. That's been chatty for a while.
I'll believe it when I see it.
Apple TV and HomePod hybrid, I meant, and an iPad and HomePod hybrid. That would be bizarre. I don't see. I think that's a little dreamy. But
I could see a HomePod sound bar before any of those other things.
Yeah. Is it? I'll believe it when I see it. I mean, a HomePod mini update, very likely. For no other reason than that Apple probably at some point wants to replace the chips in it because it's getting harder and harder to produce them, and so they might just. That's why they did the 4K Apple TV. It's mostly okay that the old chips are getting too hard and too expensive to produce again. So let's just throw in some older gen chips that are cheaper to produce. That's mostly their reasoning, and I think they're going to do that with the HomePod.
Other than that, the OG HomePod.
Yeah,
that's not coming back.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah,
I simply don't see any market or any reason for it. For the HomePod itself, for the mini, yeah, sure, it's a cool device, it's a cool market, but I don't see anything beyond it. And I think with the exception of Sonos, which is I think its own thing almost from a market perspective, I don't see anybody else being successful with it.
Yeah, it's expensive. That's those speakers are expensive. So, couple of things we'll talk here. I think Apple is reportedly seriously concerned about the iPhone 14 Plus sales. So could this affect next year's decisions, which they've already probably made at this point, about the next phone, which will probably more than likely be an iPhone 15. They're talking about the pricing, because the 14 Plus, nice phone and all, and I was excited when they announced it because there's so many people who want quote unquote a lower price with a larger size screen, but it really isn't much. I mean, like you're talking about a $200 difference between that model and the Pro. So I'm interested to see what happens next year, what Apple decides, because I think they have a boatload of stock on that 14 Plus right now. What do you guys think?
I think what they really have is a supply chain issue.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I think that their sales problem is not because people don't want to buy the phone, it's that they're just not available.
The 14 Plus and the 14 were I think, readily available.
Yeah, and I think that's Apple's
14 Plus.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I misheard you. I was thinking 14 Pro. Okay.
No, the Plus.
I'm sorry.
But even there, I mean, that might still be a supply chain issue. I mean, the differences between the Pro and the non-Pro models are big enough that like there are other chips in there, and you don't know. Like it might just be that one of the chips is harder to get. It's probably, I mean, it is very likely more like it's harder to produce the 14 Pro in general, like just more features and all the extra stuff that it has. Will it influence the decision next year? Yes. And only if it is, okay, how many 15 Pros do we produce versus 15 non-Pros? I'm pretty sure that is. Other than that, I think that the number of phones they're producing on any of them, like any one, is so big that it doesn't matter.
Yeah. And on the supply chain side, I think looking at this year and saying, "Oh, Apple's having trouble with phone sales," is not right, because this is a year where supply chains have been especially difficult, and so the real test is what happens when Apple can actually get the parts to manufacture the phones in the quantities that they want, and then what do they have left over afterwards?
Yeah. And I mean, there's one other factor. So far, there has been an impact of like the financial, I don't want to call it a financial crisis, but like everything that happened this year, like the wars and so on. And it has so far not it has impacted how people buy, like the buying behavior, but not as much as people thought. Whether that change or not, that stays that way until next year is a big question. Like at some point, people will have to make a decision and say, okay, I'm not buying a new phone because I'm struggling to pay rent or energy bills or whatever. I said so far hasn't seemed to be a massive problem for Apple, I should say, but it's coming.
Yeah, I would like to see data on what's the percentage of people that want to get a new iPhone when it comes out versus how many of them end up not being able to get it right away. And like this year, we're what, months into the release cycle, and how many people at that point are like, screw it, I'll just wait until next year.
Yeah, I don't think. I think most people don't think that way. I said I think the influence of the financials right now are probably, like your personal financials are probably bigger than supply chain.
I consider that would be a huge factor.
Yeah, I mean they've lost sales in like basically Russia. I think in China there's been some struggles and so on. So yeah, we'll see.
I'm betting there's a lot of people in the UK right now that previously would have jumped on a new iPhone, and right now, like you were saying, it's like, well, got to pay my heating bill. which
Mhm.
now is the same as my mortgage.
Yeah, totally. And I think, I mean, as I said, we haven't seen that yet, and that's why Apple has. So maybe they expected like everything to be more impacted by that. Maybe they expected, because of everything that was happening, that people would maybe not buy the Pro and go for the like the non-Pro version and say, it's good enough,
Mhm.
because it is a good phone. Like,
Yep.
let's face it.
Mhm.
So maybe that's what happened. We don't know, but said we'll see how that turns out next year.
Yeah, definitely will be. Then the last thing I want to touch on a little bit here is wearables. Two notable is the AirPods Max haven't been updated in over, it's got close to, was it 2 years, 3 years, I think. That's long
Has
overdue.
it really been that long?
It has, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So
That
I don't know
just
where
shows you how
Apple's
unready they are.
yeah. I mean, I don't know where Apple is with that, because I mean, I think pricing was starting to come down. You're starting to see people do some deep discounts on it, because it was pretty high priced. I mean, $500 for a headset. I mean, I know it was a really good sounding. I tried them, and but I don't know how
Just
that
the
market's
case.
been. Yeah.
Oh my God, that case.
Yeah. Oh yeah, the bra.
Exactly.
Yeah, crazy case there. But hard to say where that's going to go, because just like other things Apple's done similar to that, they've gone a few years without doing any upgrades. I mean, the AirPods took a while to get upgraded too. So I mean, even the Pros were, at least they were 3 years, I think, before the Pro 2s came out.
So I'm looking at AirPods Max on Apple's website right now, and you can't get anything right now. It's all,
They're all sold out.
yeah, it's like weeks out for so like Space Gray, you're waiting 5 weeks. Silver, you're waiting 4 weeks. Green, that's the one that you can get in 1 to 2 weeks. But or the blue. Pink is more popular because that's 3 weeks. But still, that actually surprises me. We're 3 years into this product, and if I order off the Apple website, I have to wait weeks to get a pair of their headphones.
And I don't think that's a supply chain thing, because I mean, it's not as if you can just not produce AirPods Max and then produce more iPhones. That's not how it works.
No, that's not how it works.
So yeah, I mean, that either means they've stopped producing them. Maybe there's an update coming. I mean, there's supposedly an Apple event in March.
Yeah, we'll see.
So could mean that it's due.
One last prediction of wearables is the continuous rumors about the AR headset. Is that going to come? You guys think that's going to happen next year?
I think Apple will give us a developer kit. Now, and so that'll be a WWDC thing, my guess. And and maybe we'll see a shipping product next year, or it might be the whole rest of the year is just for developers, and then it'll be like spring 2024 when Apple rolls out their actual consumer product.
I made a prediction, I think last year. I think it was last year, that I said like end of like probably September 2023 or like fall 2023, we'll get the release or the announcement and maybe a developer kit or something. And then like spring 24, summer 24, we'll get the actual product. Kind of like the Apple Watch. I mean, we got it that way.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's a lot of predictions and review of all the things that happened this past year. It was a pretty eventful year. I wanted to close with a happy Christmas gift that I got this year, and I was pretty happy about, and I have it here to my side here. I think this is really cool, is this frame. This is one of those things by
Those are
Grid.
so cool.
Those are
They're
so cool.
super cool. I have a link in the show notes so you can check it out. Got this as a nice gift.
Which one is that? 4S?
This is the 4S. I thought
wow.
that's
one of my
fine.
favorite phones.
Yeah, I love this phone. I I remember the story, but I mean, it's just so well built. This frame is really nice. It's not real,
Very nice.
and then they put a lot into it. Even the information that's on the board, so it's gonna look really nice on your wall. I remember the 4S vividly because I bought it and I was, of course, doing stuff for my Mac user group back in those days, and I get out of my car and I drop it because I was supposed to do an iPhone special interest group.
no.
So then my wife was with me and I said, "Oh, can you got to run to the Apple store? They got to replace this because the 4S that the back was all glass."
Mhm.
So of course I went flat down and it completely shattered. They took it back and they
That-
swapped it. Yeah.
I think that was the only phone I ever broke. Was the 4S, and I dropped it on concrete, and the back
Yeah.
shattered.
It completely shattered. So
Mm-hmm.
needless to say, I wanted to use it for demo for that special interest group, and I luckily had some extra time, so she was able to do that for me. I love her; she was great doing that. But a nice Christmas present. Go to their website. I have a link in the show notes here. I think it's a really cool thing to.
That's very cool.
And they got other iPhones that you can do as well. I mean, they just I guess released the first gen iPhone, pricey. Like they're going to charge about $400 for it. For a framed iPhone first gen from 2007, but you can get any iPhone and be happy with this. I don't care which model it is. I own pretty much all of them anyway, so except for the first gen. So, yeah, it's great stuff. And with that, this is the last show of 2022. I can't believe we've brought it to a close here, and I'm looking forward to great things in 2023.
Mm-hmm.
And looks like like I said, we've made this a tradition. I think we have to continue this on next year.
We do.
And
I'm
2022.
already looking forward to it.
Yeah,
Me
gotta
too.
put it on the calendar ahead of time here. So I guess I didn't even realize it. I'm glad we did it, and I'm glad we're doing it. So programming note: there will not be a show next week because I will be attending the CES, and that's coming up very, very shortly as we record this.
That's still going.
We're going. Yeah, I better bring a few masks.
Yeah.
So I'll take a week off, and Chuck Joyner and Mac Voices Live will be dark as well because he's going as well. So then the following week as well, have our first show of 2023, and I'll have plenty to probably talk about when it comes to the new tech and all kinds of other stuff with Apple News. So then I wish both of you happy holidays, happy New Year, and Merry Christmas to everybody. I hope they had a great Christmas, and thanks for listening. I'm so excited that everybody listens, and we have a lot of fun doing the show. So let's go and wrap things up. That's a wrap for this week. Please send your comments, questions, and suggestions to our email address, which is feedback@intouchwithios.com. You can follow us on Twitter @intouchwithios. Support the show by buying me a coffee at intouchwithios.com/coffee. We would really appreciate it. You can become a patron of the show by going to patreon.com/intouchwithios. We have 2 tiers available to support the show. Really appreciate it. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe so you're notified when we're live streaming, which today was early morning because it was a Friday, and then we can get Patrice on the show. But you can go to youtube.com/intouchwithios, and it will tell you when we record, as well as you can also check rewatch the live streams, as well as all the shows are on there as well. And thanks to everybody in the chat room. I mentioned that in YouTube, Mike and Ben and everybody in the chat room. Same place you go there when we stream live, youtube.com/intouchwithios. So check that out. And you also can go to our Flipboard magazine, which is In Touch with iOS magazine, which is many of the topics that we talk about are flipped into that magazine. You can go there. There's the links in the show notes. To listen to the show, you can subscribe with your favorite podcatcher, including Pocket Casts, Overcast, Apple Podcasts, and many others. But go to our website at intouchwithios.com, where all the links to all the ways to listen to us are there. I'm Dave Ginsburg, and you can find me on Mastodon at mastodon.cloud/DaveG65 or Twitter, DaveG65. And the show is at In Touch with iOS. And Patrice Brendamore, thank you so much for being here. It's always it's an absolute thrill when you're on the show.
It's always a lot of fun to watch you master going through 15,000 topics every with us babbling in between and stuff. No, it's always fun, and it's like I'm always very happy to be here. And I have to send an email to feedback@intouchwithios.com. and
Okay.
say, "What is this Patrice girl talking about? She has no clue." Because I got a couple of things wrong this time. So
Yeah.
it was fun.
Where can people find you?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I'm usually on the British Tech Network with Dave and with Jeff on different shows. We have the non-Apple British Tech Network Big Show on Thursdays usually. We're taking Christmas break, but it will be back next week. And we also have the Apple focused Mac Show on Fridays. So if you want to listen to that or watch that. And everything I'm doing, all the like social media links, the projects, the podcasts, like literally anything, is on thepatrice.com.
Thanks. Appreciate it. And Jeff Gamet, what a great year. Always appreciate your support of me and the show and being here. And where can people find you?
Well, it has been a great year, and I really appreciate and enjoy getting to be on your show. So thank you.
Yes.
All right, where can people find me? Most Tuesdays on Mac Voices Live, here with you on usually Thursdays. By the way, this is so cool getting to do this show with both of you. I've been going through Dave and Patrice withdrawals the past couple weeks.
Aw.
Yeah. Let's see. The Big Show with Patrice, the Mac Show with both of you, Context Machine. Let's see. The socials, Twitter, Instagram, Mastodon, whatever, Jay Gamet. And Google me. I'm easy to find.
Great. Again, I want to wish everybody a happy and prosperous new year. We had a great year of shows. You can listen to lots of them and listen to all the fun stuff we talked about this past year. Again, like I mentioned, this show will be dark next week for CES, but I will be back the following week. And I really appreciate everybody listening. I thank you all for being here and listening to the show. Really appreciate it. And we'll talk again soon. Thank you.
Dave will be back.
I'll be back.
Dave
Hey,
will be back.
Brittany's in the chat room. Hey, Brittany.
Yay!
Hey, Brittany.
Hey.
Hey, everyone else in the chat room. Patrice,
That was fun.
I have been very busy this week and have not had a chance to start testing your beta yet.
Don't worry. I'm just totally fine. It's actually better because I updated some stuff, and if you didn't have to go through that, then it's better.
I didn't have to go through that, and I did get
Okay.
a notice that my app's updated. I think it was last night. I saw the notice.
Yeah, it's about every night. Like every night I prepare. Like whenever I have time to work on it, I'll like at the end of the night I'll prepare a new package. Unless it's something that's completely broken, then I won't do that.
Well, my plan is to import over the weekend and then just jump in.
That would be good. I want to know if the import is working, because that's the thing that I have tested with my data and it's fine, but I don't know if I got everything covered.
Oh, well,
because
I'll be able to let you know soon.
Because there's no documentation, of course.
Isn't that awesome?
Yeah. There was on some podcast, someone talked about that this week. That like, was it maybe Chuck? I don't remember. Someone said, all the other apps don't work as well because they don't import 1Password data as well. And I'm like, yeah, that's not the other app's fault. It's 1Password's fault, because the old format was undocumented and impossible. Like I tried, I'm like, okay, this makes no sense. They have a new format with version 8, but it's better from a format perspective, but it's still weird and it's still undocumented, or largely undocumented. They have a small page with like, oh, here are the 3 fields that we cared to document for you.
It's like, okay. Weird.
Yeah. Well, no, I mean, it's not their primary focus.
Yeah, but okay. So here's why it's weird to me. I get it's not their primary focus. Why would you document just a couple little bits of it and then nothing else? Either document it or don't.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, it's a step in the right direction. At least it is somewhat documented. I thought it's format-wise not too bad. I mean, you can basically export everything and import everything, and it somewhat makes sense. But there are some bits and pieces where it's like, oh, it could be this way or it could be that way, and like you don't know what it is until you see the data, and then you have to guess what it could be. It's like, okay, cool. Yeah,
Well,
I
I'm
think I
looking forward
figured
to
it
letting you know
out,
how
but
it goes.
I'm still missing like the numbers. Like there's a type field in 1Password in the export format, which is just a number. And it's like 001, and then one is 100, and one is 111. I don't know if there's any system to them. I don't know if I'm missing any numbers. I exported my data and my old data from like years ago.
Mhm.
And I think I got them all, but maybe I'm missing some. So I built in some fallbacks where like, okay, if you find something you don't know, just try this. So
Yeah.
hopefully that's enough.
I'm going to say goodbye to the live stream, everybody. Happy New
Bye,
Year,
live
everybody.
stream.
See
Bye,
you in
live stream.
2023. Bye.